I'm your state representative, Janine Nodder, and this is Chatting with Janine. My guest this week is the Honorable Gary Daniels, who was our state senator and is looking to get that seat back. And the election is almost here, and I'll be glad when it's all over. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you, Janine. It's great to be back with you today.
You know, it's just been a long season. Everything was COVIDly delayed, and then I don't know, just thinking this morning, the last 2 weeks, it feels more like 2 months.
It does, but it's also been very different. Very
Yes.
different way of campaigning. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had it easy for the for the 3 previous campaigns, so this time I have to work for it. I haven't had to work this hard before.
It's always great to get the message out to the constituents so that they know where you stand on the issues and know what's going on.
And it's difficult to get a hold of the constituents because, you know, we have to maintain that distance and, you know, wear mask at the door, but then I back up. So I, you know, just trying to be careful and safe.
It's a whole new way of campaigning.
I'm getting a phone call at the moment from somebody from the GOP. Like, I'll have to call him back. You ever watch that tells you
No.
wouldn't? Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah, it can be annoying, especially when you're on the air and your watch is going off. I'm like, oh, it's Sean. So, Gary, how has it been?
It's been good. It's been great getting out, talking to people, finding out what's going on in their world. You know, we know some of the issues that Merrimack is still facing, and so we're trying to deal with those issues and come up with reasonable solutions to them.
I think last time I sat with you, well, maybe not the last time before that, but we were both in a meeting talking about the widening of the Everett Turnpike.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to elaborate on that?
I think that's one of the big issues that will be worked on. I mean, we've seen issues that are getting accomplished. You know, I fought for a number of years to get out the tolls, and just received word recently that finally the toll structures at exit 11 are coming down. Yay.
Yes, they are. Yep.
So 2 down, 1 to go. I think we need to work on exit 10 next time. And I know we're still dealing with water problems down here, and you know, one of the things I want to make sure that if I get elected, that when I go to Concord, I know that the legislature has set up a safe drinking water fund.
Yes,
And-
weren't you part of that?
And
Yeah,
I was part of that. I noticed this last time, though, that that fund was rated for $6 million. And you know, either you're going to take seriously the issue of drinking water or you're not. You know, if money is put away into a fund to help those towns that have problems with water pollution, then no legislator should be rating that fund for something else.
I did not vote to raid the fund, and neither did my Republican colleagues. I'm quite sure of it.
I'm sure of that too.
Well, you know, 2 years ago, it was a whole different environment, and in midterms, a lot of voters don't go out to vote. They get, you know, they just don't feel a reason for it if it's not a presidential year. I don't know. I can't speak for anybody. But no one saw that coming, where Merrimack especially, you know, we all just got wiped out based really from one issue. And the word on the street was that Republicans had done nothing about the water problem, but that's not true. Like you just mentioned, the safe, what did you call it?
Safe drinking water fund.
Safe drinking water fund, that was rated. And I put up right on my palm card some of the bills. Senate Bill 380, that was in 2016. House Bill 463 was in 2017. And then House Bill 1100 and Senate Bill 309. 1100 was, the prime sponsor was Dick Hinch of Merrimack.
Which I co-sponsored.
Yes, and yes, you did. Were you also part of, they were basically the same thing.
Yeah, there were a lot of them that they ran, some in the Senate with the same things in the House.
So would you say it's safe to say that the difference between us and the other side of the aisle is we need the facts first. We can't just throw money at things. Is that what happened here? I mean, because you were part
true.
of that.
I mean, to say that you're fixing a problem by you know, establishing a fund is one thing. If you then go and start rating that money that's supposed to be going to the towns to fix their problems to use for something else, I mean, how can someone really take you seriously that you're up there to fix the problem? It's just a show. So, I mean, if you needed money for something else, I'm sure that elsewhere in the budget, you could find something that wasn't as important as drinking water.
So I'm not really sure how to counteract the falsehood that's been proclaimed out there that we did nothing.
Well, I think there's well, I think one of the challenges we're seeing out there right now is there's a lot of literature floating around that has information on it that's not right. And, you know, one of the issues that have just popped up in the last 2 years, it seems to be resonating with constituents, particularly in New Hampshire here, is the whole effort to try to get an income tax in. And it's
Just like that, they're all of a sudden saying, oh, no, we're not for an income tax. Like, but excuse me, you have a voting record, and your voting record shows that you voted for it.
yeah, and it's coming. You know, what happens is they build these bills, and then people look at the title of the bills, and the title of the bill is
Whitewashed.
Family Medical Leave Act or insurance. But
Sounds
if you read down in the bill, and if I may, I just want to read one section of that bill.
Please do.
And that's Senate Bill 1 in the Senate or House Bill 712 in the House. But Chapter 282B3 Roman numeral 2 says, all employers subject to this chapter not exercising the business option in paragraph 1 shall remit family medical leave insurance premium payments on a calendar quarter basis beginning January 1st, 2020. These quarterly insurance payments shall amount to 0.5% of wages for employees per week for each week of the preceding quarter. Such employers with the obligation to remit have the option of paying some or all of the family medical leave insurance premium payments on behalf of employees, or may instead withhold or divert no greater than 0.5% of wages per week per employee to satisfy this paragraph. How can anyone read that and say that taking out mandatorily 0.5% of somebody's wages is not an income tax? But yet, I know my opponent has been sending out mail saying that she opposes a sales and income tax, yet she's voted on it at least three times in support of it. And so it's that kind of thing. And I think we saw one in the previous term too. I remember it was House Bill 1807. It was under the definition or the title of relative to vulnerable adults. But there was only one small paragraph in there that really had to do with financially scamming elderly adults. The rest of it was gun confiscation.
Yes.
Without due process. So, you know, the moral of this is you need to read the whole bill. You can't just take the title of something
Right.
and say, this is what it is.
Now, I have two things. I'm going off in two directions, but what you just read. Now, I know a lot of people will like tune out after the second sentence and like, what does that mean? But then there are others who get it, and I've seen it. I've seen people saying, no, if you're taxing my wages, if you're saying a tax on wages, that is an income tax because my wages are my income. Get it?
Yeah, and I might add that, you know, while the provision is in there that the employers could pay for it, keep in mind the environment that we're in right now. We've just gone through, 6 months of COVID, and businesses are struggling to succeed,
yes,
to
they
stay
are.
alive. Many of them have gone out of business.
Over 200.
So yet, what you're doing here is you're pushing back on them saying, here's another tax for you to pay.
That's the worst thing I could
At their
do.
time they're trying to bring things in. And I mean, that goes along with, the Democrats trying to raise the business taxes over 12% on businesses. You just don't do that.
That's on my palm card too, 12.5%.
I guess I'm not reading your palm card.
Now, you want one?
Oh, I'm fine.
It's a nice bookmark. My
Yes.
brother keeps them as a bookmark. Yes, we need to get people back to work, and the other thing we're hearing is get the kids back in school and get the economy rolling again.
Yeah, well, and that's where I really believe that I can make a difference in here. I mean, I spent 12 years in the House on the Labor Committee.
I remember you sitting in the front row.
So
Yeah.
I'm very used to looking at things and determining what's going to help put people to work. I mean, and we drove our unemployment rate down to, I believe it was like 2.2, 2.3%. Of course, we were back up well into the double digits because of COVID. That has come back down to 6.5%, but that's still a long shot from where we were. So I think I can contribute to that. As Senate Finance Chair in my last term in the Senate, we crafted a budget. I worked with people on both sides of the aisle in both chambers, and we crafted a budget and passed it the first time. And we did that without raising taxes, without raising fees, and meeting the need, not only meeting the needs of the state, but establishing New Hampshire as the economic engine of New Hampshire, of New England. Getting to a point where we could drive business taxes down below Massachusetts, I think that's quite an accomplishment.
Well, I hope you win your seat back. I had written down, because you mentioned titles of bills, the titles of bills are very misleading. And I know some people get their feathers ruffled if you say what's in the bill rather than calling it by the title that it's given. And I've seen that a lot. There is a mutual friend, I'm not going to say who it is, but this individual had made a list of all the bills that had passed this past term, and instead of using the title, wrote a description. And oh boy, that got the other side all riled up.
I call that transparency.
It is transparency, and I think I remember having a discussion one time at the start of a term. I'm like, wow, who names the bills? Why do they get these whitewashed titles? And it makes it sound like a nice little innocuous bill, or and when it's not, like the red flag bill.
Right.
That's another biggie. That was a gun confiscation bill, and of course one side is saying, oh no, it's a suicide prevention. You know, you take the guns away, then people can't kill themselves. But how about all the other ways that people kill themselves? And nothing in the bill about taking away pills and ropes and knives, you know, anything. Pillows, lakes, bridges.
As I recall that bill, I mean, in the Senate, we stripped all the confiscation out of it and ended up passing something that would protect vulnerable adults against financial scams. But you know, if that was the true intent of the bill, then that would have been over with. But yet they brought it back the next year with the same language in it, with the same confiscation thing.
Yeah.
So you know, you begin to wonder what the true intent is. You know, you're just putting it under some warm and fuzzy title that you're going to pay attention to the title and not the content of the bill.
You know, 2 years in a row, I was a featured speaker at the Women's Defense League's annual Second Amendment rally. And I said, well, what do you want me to talk about? She said, just speak from your heart. So the first year I did. I wrote it all down because off the top of my head, I don't always speak eloquently. But in my speech that I gave, I talked about growing up. You know, I had older brothers and sisters. I'm the youngest of 6, and there's a big 19-year gap between the oldest and span, rather. So they're a lot older than me, but we have the same parents, so it's weird. But anyway, my oldest brother loves history. He's a historian, and I spent a lot of time at his house and just would read his books and have a lot of discussions, you know, from Charlemagne to the Holocaust, and his wife especially. We would talk about the Holocaust, and I would think, well, I didn't understand how this could happen to people. Why didn't they fight back? It's like, well, they took the guns away. You see what happens, and then if people who read history know that time and again when they disarm the people, they have no defense against tyranny. So it's so important, the Second Amendment. And I know you're right up there with the Second Amendment, or you wouldn't have your sign in front of the gun shop
Yes,
up the road.
I have been recently endorsed by not only the NRA, but Gun Owners of America as well.
I've been endorsed by the NRA. I believe I was also endorsed by Owners of America, but that I need to check on. We just did a candidates forum, and I forgot to mention Americans for Prosperity. That's a big endorsement, and it slipped my mind. And you've been endorsed by them as well.
I have been endorsed by them as well.
So, and Young Americans for Liberty?
I recently got their endorsement.
Yes, and that's another big one. That one's hard to get. So I was very pleased.
Well, one of the things that I did in my campaign is I started talking to some of the students who are high school students and asking them what their primary issues were, because they differ from different age groups. And we start looking at them and start having a conversation with them, finding out where they're getting their information, and it's been very good. It's been a good conversation, and I think that has helped out with YAL as well. And so I think I better understand where the young folks are coming from. But we also have to remember that what we're doing now in the legislature is basically setting the world that they're going to take over. And I don't want them going into a world where they're going to be loaded down with debt for their full lives. But unfortunately, that seems to be where we've gone. We've come a long way from where Thomas Jefferson said that each generation should be responsible for its own debt. And so that is one of the things that I always try to do, is have my finger on the pulse of just what's going on financially, feeling that we really should take care of our own debt and not leave it to our children, their children, and their children.
And you mentioned COVID again. During we didn't really have a lockdown. It was a stay at home. It was just recommended that you stay home. But we still had to go to the grocery store, and there's rows and rows of empty shelves. And that's what it's like every day in a socialist country, where you have empty shelves. Because when everybody's the same, everyone is brought down to the lowest common denominator, and then there's no free market, there's no competition. So what you're left with is poor quality and not enough for anyone. It's really sad, and it was like a rude awakening, like, oh my gosh, this election is so important, because we're teetering on the edge of falling into socialism, I mean, at the federal level and even the state. And then look at what happened in Venezuela. It used to be such a beautiful, prosperous country, and now there's no toilet paper. Nobody has toilet paper. People are starving because there's not enough food. There's food lines, and it's very scary. And I just hope that and pray that things work out in America.
Well, I think the governor has done a good job.
He has.
Here it's been slow and methodical, not fast enough for some people, maybe too fast for others. I don't envy the position he's in, because you can be critical either way. But New Hampshire overall, when you look at the other states, I think we've done very well. We've kept our numbers down, and I think we still have some work to go. Education, I think, is one of those areas. I mean, we had a chance to try out in real time the whole virtual learning. Again, I've talked to a lot of students and parents.
Right.
And
what are they saying?
Well, it was interesting, because a lot of the students said, I thought I'd really like it, having the virtual learning, but I find that I'm not learning as much as if I was in a classroom.
That's what I've been hearing too. And the parents are just like, oh my gosh, they need to go to school.
Yeah, but we do have to remember that I truly believe that parents know best how their children learn. And so I think as we move education around and realize the different options that we have, we need to make sure that parents have a voice in determining what education is chosen.
Right, one size doesn't fit all.
For their student, because some people thrive in one particular environment versus another. Others will thrive in a different environment. And ultimately, what we need to do is to make sure that each child gets in the environment that prepares them best for success in life.
Right, and every child's different. Every child learns differently. My oldest son had a really hard time with the phonics program that I was teaching him. So then I found, I think I still have a book, the Merrill Linguistics Reading Program, and then he excelled. He just took off, and I remember him reading to me. The last book that he read to me out loud was Westward with Christopher Columbus, and we just celebrated Columbus Day, but that people don't call it Columbus Day anymore, but it's still on the books.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Oh, here's a fun random fact. Do you know why America is called America?
Because of Amerigo Vespucci.
I've always thought his name was Amerigo Vespucci. However
He
you
was
say
Italian.
his name. Amerigo Vespucci, he was the map maker. And he thought, oh, I'm just going to call it America. Because I always wonder, like, why aren't we, if we were discovered by Christopher Columbus, why aren't we called Columbia? Well, there is a Columbia.
We have District of.
Yeah, yes, there is the District of, but and I know some people don't know that it's about Amerigo Vespucci. Oh, one of the antique shops, when the world started opening up again, my son and I toured all the antique stores, and there was one in Amherst. There's this big ship, and they called Amerigo Vespucci on it. We were very excited to see that.
No, I was excited too to see that the president is actually taking steps to put history back in school, because I think from my generation to this generation, I think a lot has been lost because they don't necessarily teach history the way that they used to, and I think that's a detriment to today's generation, because it doesn't teach them where they've come from.
Right. Those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it.
There we go.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of the history books have been rewritten.
Yes.
I remember hearing a warning, I don't know, several years ago. It was like, get the old books, get the old history books before they changed it. And that was one thing I did during the quarantine, was I went online and I looked for old books, and I ended up getting another package came. I've got a big stack of older history books that, before they change it. Because, I don't know, perspectives change and people are so sure they know what's right. And it's like, well, none of us really know anything because we didn't live back then. Yeah. So
no, we really need to get education, I think, back on track. I mean, one of the things that I would like to do is to make sure that when students graduate from high school, that they're prepared to go into college. I remember as a senator, I was talking to the chancellor of the technical colleges, and he was telling me, and I believe it's above 20% of the students that come out of high school need to take remedial courses.
Yes,
because they're not ready for college.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we somehow need to bring those parties together so that the high schools know what the colleges expect the student to know, because I mean that saves money for the parent from having to spend on remedial courses. It better prepares the student so they can concentrate on the college courses. And I think on the other end too, that business and colleges ought to get together so that colleges know what businesses expect of the students graduating from college, so that they're ready to go into business. I mean, we need to bring that all together.
Mm-hmm. And I would like to see cursive writing. Because someday, if nobody knows cursive writing, they're not going to be able to read the
Constitution.
Right. So the nuns didn't get a hold of me until the 5th grade. So my handwriting is comparable to a doctor's handwriting. But the kids that got those nuns early, boy, they practiced their penmanship every day. And they got in trouble if they made a sloppy S. I've been trying to write notes to voters, and I'm like, I hope they can read this. There's a lot of white out here and there. Yeah, I'm very flawed, sorry. But I know what button to press when I'm sitting in Reps Hall. And that's what counts.
It does.
Right. So in the Senate, you don't press buttons, do you?
No, everything is raise of hand or mostly roll calls, I'll say.
You know what's scary
we do
is
voice
that
votes as well.
is the gallery watching the Senate. So if you want the viewers wanted to watch the Senate in session when the world comes back to normal and you're actually in the chamber. You go up the little stairs, you pass Vesta Roy. She was the first female governor. A lot of people don't know that, but when Governor Gallin died, she was the president of the Senate, so she became the acting governor. Vesta Roy was her name. So her photo's down at the bottom of the stairs. You go to the top, and then there's a railing this high, and that scares me going up there. I'm like,
Yeah, especially when the school children are up there. And,
yeah.
but no, it's much smaller than the House.
So you've been in the House and the Senate. You like the Senate better?
They're different. They're different worlds. Certainly, I think there's probably more action in the House.
Oh, definitely. You can hear us, can't you? Yeah.
Sometimes. But I think each body has its own importance, and we need to work together, and that's one of the valuable things I've been able to do because of the long-term relationship I had with House members. That when issues come up, I can actually work with House members and try to drive the issue that way. So those networks are vitally important.
Well, Gary, we have 90 seconds left in the show, and I would like to give that 90 seconds to you. So please look directly into that camera and speak to the people of Merrimack and tell them why they should vote for you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Gary Daniels. I live in Milford. I represent Merrimack, Amherst, Milford, and Wilton. I'm running for State Senate in District 11. I would appreciate your vote on November 3rd. My issues is I need to bring back the New Hampshire advantage to what it was. We live in New Hampshire for a reason. We don't want an income tax. We don't want a sales tax. We want to be able to have our individual freedoms, not have the heavy hand of government upon us. So I would ask you all to get out and vote on November 3rd. Bring somebody with you. Let's do this for New Hampshire. Let's do this for the state we love and the lives that we want in New Hampshire. Live free or die.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, well, I was going to shake your hand. See? Oh, well. Air 5. air bump, fist bump. There's an air 5. Oh, I feel so blonde today. I'm having one of those days. But thank you for watching, and the governor will be on next, so stay tuned.